Erica, you founded Bitnami and you were focusing on open source software. What exactly was the problem that you were solving at Bitnami?
We were trying to make it easier to consume open source software. So in particular, in the early days, you might have an app like Sugar CRM that was for managing customer relationships. And the people that would be evaluating that software would be sales folks or business or ops folks. And they didn't necessarily have the expertise to take that application and set it up with the web server and the language runtime and all of the other dependencies that it had. So we took that software and all of the software that it depended on and basically wrapped it in a nice package so you could just go click, 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 next, and then everything would be up and running on your machine. And that grew into packaging really all the top open source projects for the major cloud platforms. And in fact, we drove 1.2 billion hours of compute usage in 2018 just by making it easy to consume open source in the cloud.
Do you think the attitudes have changed with regards to open source software and the role it plays in the enterprise market?
People want to see their work recognized and they want to be able to share what they're doing with their peers. So by developing an open source, you get to attract the kind of talent that wants to do that work. Another thing that we've seen a lot now is intersourcing, right? Companies are trying to learn how to bring open source best practices into their companies to help people collaborate better internally. And then many are also building out OSPOs to look at both the consumption of open source, but also the participation in the open source community and make sure that any work that's not really core to their business gets contributed back. And you end up with this virtuous cycle of open source participation and talent wanting to join your company. So I think there are really a lot of benefits to participating in open source, regardless of whether or not it's your core IP that becomes open source.
GitHub is a large platform and it's now backed by Microsoft, which of course is one of the largest tech companies in the world. So what are the opportunities you're seeing to grow the brand globally?
Fantastic to have the flexibility of really still a startup with the backing of a parent company with considerable resources, right? One of the things that I've been focused on is our international expansion strategy since I joined GitHub, and we actually just launched India. It's been really interesting because GitHub is used all over the world. India, for example, is number 3 in terms of developers on the GitHub platform, which out of a base of over 40 million developers is a pretty big number. But there are things that we could do to better serve the Indian market. Some of those we know, like participating more in the community and having more sales folks on the ground to actually engage with customers. Other things I think we're going to learn over time. What are the unique needs from a consumption perspective? Like, is the service performing the way it should be? Does our pricing work in that market? So we're really just building out that muscle of going into a new market, understanding how to be successful there and what the unique needs of that market are, while still maintaining this focus on being the global open source community.
Silicon Valley is considered the mecca of tech. What does it take to succeed here as opposed to other places in the world?
If you're really looking to tap into the VC world, Silicon Valley is still the place to be. I will say that there is so much vibrancy in some of these other places that I've been having just come back from India and seeing the passion and the drive and the ambition of the founders there. It was palpable, right? I think if you're focused on a specific market, and a market like India is huge, you never have to leave India to build an incredibly successful company. Being there is great. If you want to go global or if you want to sell into the US, Silicon Valley is still the place to be for now.